Guys, welcome back to another episode of Backlog Journal, the show where I talk about games I've been playing. And in today's video, I've got 7 games that I've been playing recently that I want to talk about, ranging from a whole variety of consoles from across the past 20 years, basically. So anyways, guys, before we get into it, let me know what you've been playing down in the comments. And without further ado, let's jump right in. Alright, first off here, so a little background before we jump into this game. When I got back from living overseas, I met up with one of my old friends, Jacob. I've known this guy since we were in our freshman year of high school, and he randomly was just like, Sammy, I want you to pick a color, blue or black. And I was like, okay, black. I meet up with him, and he hands me a black analog pocket. And I was just like, is this really for me? And he's like, yeah, dude. So I have an analog pocket now, and I've really been enjoying my time with it, specifically because the first game I decided to pop into it was my old copy here of Pokemon Crystal. Now, I replaced the save battery in this game about 5 years ago now, and thankfully it still saves. I had 2 gym badges when I started playing it on the Analog Pocket, and now I am done with Johto, beat the Elite Four, and I'm moving on to the Kanto region. And I've just been having such a great time playing the second generation of Pokemon again on original hardware. Well, I guess technically the Analog Pocket isn't original hardware, but it's like the better version of original hardware. So it's been really cool. I love the screen on this thing. I love just how vibrant it is and the different filters you can put on it, and you can even use save states. And speaking of that, I also took out my old copy of Pokemon Red, which still has the save file on it from when I did my original month of Game Boy video. And that's been really cool because what I did was I traded my team over from Pokemon Red into this copy of Pokemon Crystal. But before I traded the Pokemon over, I made a save state. And then I traded them into Crystal, and then I reloaded that save state on Red. So now my original team is still on Red, but it's on Pokemon Crystal as well. And that's one really cool thing that you can do with the Analog Pocket is use save states on these original Game Boy games, which is it just takes games like Pokemon to a whole new level because you can, like I said, trade things over and then reload your save, and then you're basically cloning your Pokemon. And that's been really cool. And another thing I've been doing is I've been jumping back into my old copy here of Pokemon Stadium 2 for the Nintendo 64. Now, I loved this game as a kid, but I never used to actually connect any of my Game Boy games to it, just because I didn't have the proper equipment to do so. I didn't have the transfer pack or anything like that. So I've been having a lot of fun messing around in Pokemon Stadium 2, and once my team is strong enough, I would like to actually try to beat the Gym Leader Challenge with my own Pokemon for once, instead of using the kind of not-so-great rental Pokemon that they have in Pokemon Stadium 2. But other than that, it's been really cool just kind of logging in to Pokemon Stadium 2 every day, connecting my copy of Pokemon Crystal through the N64 transfer pack, and getting little items from my room in the game. I got some cool plushies that I have set up in there, and I even got a Nintendo 64 to hook up to the TV, and it doesn't really do anything, but it's just a cute little low-poly bedroom that you could just look at, and I think that's really cool. But anyways, moving on from this classic Pokemon stuff, I jumped into a new PS5 game that came out in April, and that game was Sandland. Here we have Sandland for the PS5, and this is a really cool game. This is an open world tank combat game by Bandai Namco, with art by the late Akira Toriyama, the artist who worked on Dragon Ball and Dragon Quest. Rest in peace to a great one. Honestly, still so sad that he's gone, but this game is a really cool, just one of his last projects that he worked on, and I'm really enjoying it. I haven't finished it yet, but it's an open world kind of tank combat game, as I said previously, and it's based on one of his short manga series that he made back in the day. And also, if you're into anime and stuff, they did just release an anime alongside the game, basically. I haven't checked it out yet, but I'm really enjoying the game, so I'm definitely going to get to that anime eventually. But yeah, I feel like a lot of people slept on this game. I think it's really fun, and I think it's really cool if you're just looking for a nice, like, cartoony open world game with really fun combat and interesting characters, and definitely check it out. I've seen the prices dropped quite a bit since it came out, so Definitely don't sleep on this one. It's not just like some weird tie-in game. It definitely feels like its own thing, and like I said, I haven't seen the anime or anything, so it's totally cool to just experience it on its own. I liked Sandland a lot, and if you guys have been sleeping on it because you just weren't sure about it, it has my seal of quality, it has my recommendation. So yeah, check it out if you think it sounds interesting. And you'll have to excuse me because my dog was barking outside my door, so I have him in here with me now. This is Dozer. He's camera shy, but he's just gonna sit on my lap now while I record this because he was not happy that I left him outside, I guess. Not out, I didn't leave him outside, I just left him outside of the room. He was still inside. All right, next up here, this is a bit of a weird one for me. I mean, not a weird one, this is a very popular game, but I was in a local game store recently, and I've been collecting a bit of PS3 stuff just because I really like that console, and I missed out on a lot of games for it back in the day. And this is funny because this is technically not a PS3 game, but a collection of PS2 games. This is the God of War collection. I've never played any of the God of War games, but I wanted to just kind of, you know, try them out and start at the beginning. So I picked up this collection. It was like 10 bucks. I thought it was a really good deal. And I played through the first God of War, the original PS2 game, just upscaled in HD here on the PS3. Played through it for the first time, and I thought it was a lot of fun. It's just a very straightforward hack and slash, but the combat feels really good and really fluid, especially for such an old game. I mean, it was a PS2 game, but I mean, it holds up really well. I did feel it got a bit repetitive at times, but I think that's just kind of how the hack and slash genre is sometimes. But I really enjoyed it. So yeah, God of War collection on the PS3. Having a good time with it so far. Probably gonna take a break before I jump into God of War 2. But I like this series and I'm definitely excited to see where it goes. All right, next up here is a 3DS game. This is Shin Megami Tensei 4. And I have the beautiful collector's edition here from back when this game originally came out back in the day. I picked this up and I was meaning to start it since day one. I was a big Persona 3 and 4 fan back then, and I was like, I want to see more from this series. And unfortunately, I didn't really fully get into it until just recently, but I'm having an absolutely fantastic time playing through my original physical copy of this game on my new 3DS, and it's a lot of fun. It's a really cool RPG. It's turn-based. It's got really great exploration, a really interesting world. The story is so bizarre. You start out in this like medieval kingdom, and then you're going down into this dungeon where there's demons, and you start going further and further down. And then all of a sudden, about, you know, a few hours into the game, you hit the bottom of the dungeon, and there's like an elevator, and you go down the elevator, and next thing you know, you're coming down into the Tokyo Skytree and you're in Tokyo. So Tokyo is underground. I'm about 25 hours in and I don't really know where the story is gonna go, but it definitely has me hooked and I'm really enjoying this game so far. But I highly recommend it. This is another one where I don't know if it's getting kind of expensive these days. All the 3DS RPGs are getting kind of up there in price. So like I always say, just play it any way you can if you think it sounds interesting. There's no remake or remaster of it or anything of the sort. At this point in time, it is stuck on the 3DS. So if you can get your hands on this game, I highly recommend it. If not, you know, mod your 3DS and play it however you can. But it's really cool, and I'm hoping to finish this one at some point in the near future. I'm taking a little bit of a break from it, though, because I was starting to feel a little bit burnt out on it. I tend to get that way with long RPGs, but I'm really excited to see where the story goes. And I'm definitely going to try to stick with this one all the way to the end. All right, so next up here, we actually have a Switch game, and it is The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening Remake. It took me so long again to finally get to this one, but part of the reason why I finally just decided to go ahead and get right into it is because they announced Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, which uses this game's art style and I think looks really, really cool. So I was like, you know what, I'm finally gonna play this game. I've played the original Link's Awakening before. I played it on the 3DS. I never finished it, but I got pretty far. And that was one of those early 3DS eShop games I got back in the day when there wasn't a ton to play on the 3DS. So this game kind of reminds me of that a lot. And I've been really enjoying this so far. I think it's a really good remake. I know there's a bit of controversy around it because it was a full priced $60 game for basically a Game Boy game. Like, it's still the same length as the Game Boy original. I think that the art style is really cute. I like it a lot. For me, it's like, yeah, they took a Game Boy game and they modernized it. I mean, what more do you want? It's still at its core, it's still a Game Boy game. Like, I think people would have been mad if they changed too much, you know? It's a classic 2D Zelda game. What are you doing? He does not like being in here. I'm sorry, buddy. Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of issues with it. There's, you know, the frame rate is inconsistent. I'm hoping maybe they do some kind of patch for it on the Switch 2, which is supposed to be backwards compatible from what we've heard. But yeah, I like this game a lot. I'm almost done with it. I think I've got like 2 dungeons left. And it's just a good time. It's a really good time. And I'll never forget, I wanted to get to this game on the Game Boy Color back when I did my original month of Game Boy video, but I was trying to stick to more short games in that video so I could actually finish them. But yeah, I think I'm probably gonna finish this game for the first time. I did the color dungeon, which is like that optional dungeon that they put in the Game Boy Color version of this game. It's here in the Switch version as well. So when you do that dungeon, you can pick a different tunic for Link to wear. There's a blue one that increases his defense and a red one that increases his offense. I picked the red one just because I think it looks cool, and it's really nice getting to like kill a lot of enemies in one hit after, you know, all the backtracking you have to do in that game and killing the same enemies over and over again. But yeah, Link's Awakening Remake, I highly recommend it, and yeah, it's a good time. He's 13, he's antisocial. I'm sorry. Come on, just sit with me, buddy. He's very restless. All right, buddy, we're getting on to the last game, okay? Don't be upset. I'm sorry. Do you want me to put you down? Okay, we're going down. Okay, he's looking at himself in the mirror. Anyways, on to the last game here, and here we have a PS4 game that's technically a PS3 game. We have the Yakuza Remastered Collection. Now, I am a huge fan of the Yakuza games. I haven't played all of them, but I've been a big fan ever since I got Yakuza 0 back in, I think, 2017 when it originally came out. I absolutely fell in love with the series with that game. It's a prequel to the series, so it was a great starting point. I still recommend it as a starting point if you haven't played any of these games yet. I think Yakuza 0 is a great starting point. It'll introduce you to all the characters and really make you fall in love with the main cast of characters that are around through most of the series. Now, at this point, I've played 0 all the way through. I've played the remake of 1, the remake of 2, and now I'm on to the remastered version of 3 here on the PS4. It's really cool. It takes place in Okinawa. Kind of go back and forth from Okinawa to Tokyo from what I've played so far. I'm only about 5 hours in. I just started playing this one like the other day, but I'm just so happy to be playing another game in this series. I know I always talk about how I'm a big fan of the series, but I am playing through the series very slowly, but I want to play them all in order, and I want to just take my time and enjoy them all. They're such fun games. They remind me of living in Japan, and they just remind me of why I love Japan, why I love video games. And they're just a lot of fun. They're kind of like little mini open world type of games. They have beat 'em up combat. You're using weapons, you're beating the crap out of people. The stories are always gripping. And then the other thing that's really famous about these games is that they feature just really silly, wacky side quests, which I really think only get better as the series goes on. But yeah, I'm really enjoying Yakuza 3. And yeah, guys, those are the games that I've been playing basically since March. So anyways, definitely let me know what you've been playing down in the comments, and let me know your thoughts on the games I've been playing. I try to keep what I'm playing, you know, varied. I like a lot of variety. I don't just like playing the same type of game all the time. I like to switch it up, as you've probably seen from this series. But yeah, let me know what you've been playing down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.